The distress beacon came from the edge of the Kareth expanse, a dead zone where neither the Galactic Compact nor the Vreth Dominion bothered to patrol. It was the kind of place where ships went to disappear. Orion didn't care. He punched the coordinates into the Wanderer's NAV console and leaned back in his pilot's chair, cracking his knuckles. 6'2", lean with muscle, dark eyes that caught light like polished obsidian. His crew called him reckless. His enemies called him something worse. Beside him, in the co-pilot's harness, a modified, reinforced, borderline illegal co-pilot's harness, sat Celine. Celine weighed approximately 14 kilograms. She was black and white, built low to the ground, with claws that had once scored titanium plating and a jaw pressure that the Galactic Zoological Database classified as do not approach under any circumstances. This is not a suggestion. She was a honey badger. She was also Orion's best friend, registered crew member, and the single most dangerous non-sapient creature in 3-star systems. A title she contested vigorously because Celine considered herself very sapient. Thank you. She chittered now, low and sharp, her flat black eyes scanning the sensor readout. Yeah, Orion agreed. Ambush formation. I see it. The Vreth were apex predators by galactic consensus. 7 feet tall, armored in natural chitinous plating, with 4 arms, 2 for grappling, 2 for weapons, and a biological venom sac that could liquefy bone. They had conquered 12 species. They had eaten 3. The Galactic Compact had issued 17 formal complaints, and the Vreth had responded to each one by eating the courier. Crothvel, Claw Commander of the Reaping Tide, did not consider humans a threat. He had studied them, briefly. Soft, slow, frighteningly creative, but ultimately fragile. No armor, no venom, no natural weapons. The only dangerous human was a human with a ship, and the Wanderer was a light-class freighter with civilian-grade shielding. He had 4 warships. This would take minutes. Hail them, Crothvel ordered. Let them understand what approaches. The screen flickered. A human appeared, young, annoyingly relaxed, one boot propped on the console. Something moved in the background. Something low and quick. Hey, the human said. You the guys who've been hitting refugee transports out here? Crothvel spread his upper arms in the Vreth gesture of dominance. You are in Vreth-controlled space, prey creature. Surrender your vessel and submit to. Cool, cool, the human said. He wasn't looking at the screen anymore. He was looking at the small, furry creature that had climbed onto the console beside him. Celine, they're the ones. The creature looked at the screen. Crothvel had stared down Graxian war beasts. He had faced the deep space leviathans of the Vordani Rift. He did not understand why. For just a fraction of a second, something cold moved through his thorax when those small, flat, utterly empty black eyes found his. Surround them, he said. Prepare boarding party. The Reaping Tide was the first ship Orion hit. Not because it was closest, because it was the one Celine had looked at. The Wanderer moved like it had no right to, because Orion had spent 6 years illegally modifying its drive core, and because he had learned to pilot by running black market cargo through asteroid belts with Vreth fighters on his tail. He went in toward the warships, which none of them expected, and launched a focused EMP burst directly into the Reaping Tide's weapon array. Then he docked. Crothvel's bridge crew barely had time to draw weapons before the airlock blew. Orion came through first, because he was larger and because he had a plasma cutter and 3 flashbang grenades and absolutely no hesitation. The Vreth were bigger. They were stronger. In a straight fight, any one of them should have torn him apart in seconds. But Orion didn't fight straight. He fought like a man who had grown up watching Celine. He moved constantly, never where they expected, exploiting every half-second of disorientation from the flashbangs, targeting joints and sensory organs, the gaps in the chitin that the Vreth didn't think about, because no prey had ever been fast enough or calm enough to aim for them. Behind him, Celine came through the airlock at a dead sprint. She weighed 14 kilograms. A Vreth warrior weighed 300. It didn't matter. The first one she reached grabbed for her instinctively, because she was small, and small things were caught and crushed. His hand closed around her midsection with enough force to crack durasteel plating. Celine bit through his wrist joint. She did not let go when he screamed. She did not let go when he slammed her against the wall. She did not let go when he tried to pry her off with his second set of arms. She simply kept biting, methodical, patient, completely unbothered by pain or pressure or the chaos of the room around her. A honey badger's skin is famously, almost insultingly loose. Blows that would stun or crush simply move the skin. The muscle underneath kept working. The jaw kept working. The Vreth warrior made a sound that his species did not have a word for, because his species had never needed a word for "I am losing this fight, and I do not understand why." Celine released him when she was done with that arm. She moved to the next one. Crothvel retreated to his command chair. It was an unconscious movement, prey behavior, his mind noted with horror, even as his body did it. The human had dropped 2 of his warriors. The small creature, had incapacitated 3. It was bleeding from places that should have been debilitating. It kept moving. It had been hit with a stun rod at close range and had turned around and bitten the stun rod in half. "What?" Crothvel said, his translator working perfectly, his voice not working quite right. "Is that thing?" Orion looked over at Celine, who was sitting on a fallen Vreth warrior, cleaning her claws with an expression of profound indifference. "Honey badger," Orion said. "That is not a weapon classification." "No," Orion agreed. "She's not a weapon. She's just like that." He walked toward Crothvel without hurrying. His plasma cutter was holstered. He had a bruised eye and a cut across his cheek and the easy posture of someone who was simply waiting for a conversation to finish. Celine hopped off the Vreth she'd been sitting on and padded after him. Crothvel, 8-time decorated claw commander, conqueror of the Harrix belt, feared across 12 systems, pressed back into his command chair. "Here's what's going to happen," Orion said pleasantly. "You're going to transmit your route logs, everywhere your ships have been for the last 6 months. Every refugee transport you hit, every cargo you seized. Then you're going to send a fleet-wide stand-down order. Then your ships are going to escort the survivors you've been holding to the nearest compact station. And if I refuse?" Orion glanced at Celine. Celine looked at Crothvel. Crothvel transmitted the route logs. The after-action report filed by the Galactic Compact investigator assigned to the Kerith Expanse incident read, in part, 4 Vreth warships were neutralized by a single light-class freighter crewed by 1 human male and 1 non-sapient Earth mustelid. 17 Vreth warriors required medical attention. Claw Commander Crothvel surrendered without further resistance and has not, as of this report, explained why. The human, 1 Orion, no registered surname, crew registration hashtag 7714, declined debriefing. The mustelid declined to be scanned. It should be noted that the species designation non-sapient has been challenged by this investigator based on direct observation. The creature made what appeared to be a deliberate strategic choice to bite through a communications relay during the engagement, isolating the Vreth flagship from its support ships. When this was raised with the human, he said, "Yeah, she does that. This office recommends a formal review of Earth mustelid sapiens classifications, an immediate upgrade of the Wanderer's threat rating, and, frankly, a strong drink." Somewhere in the Kerith Expanse, the Wanderer turned toward open space. Orion had his feet on the console. Celine was curled in the co-pilot's harness, already asleep, already healing, completely unbothered by the universe and everything in it. "Good work today," Orion said. Celine didn't open her eyes. She made a low, grumbling sound that meant obviously. Orion smiled and pointed them toward the stars. The Vreth, it was later noted, stopped operating in the Kerith Expanse entirely. When asked why, the few who would speak on the matter gave the same answer. They had decided the area was no longer worth the risk. They did not elaborate.